All right, we are officially live for Kent with Bent 50. Live free or Kent hard. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
Wait, was my intro muted? My intro shouldn't have been muted. If my intro was muted, then that's my bad. No good
I
music.
couldn't hear anything.
Oh. Boo. Should we play it again with sound? No, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I have nice already typed, just ready to
Alright,
click.
fine. We'll see what happens. Alright.
I'll just sing it.
No, it's happening right now. They can hear it. And us. You're getting, like, both the music and the talking. Yes, Golden Anniversary Edition.
It's cool music, though. It really is cool music.
It is good music. Alright, so I don't know how that happened. I must have misclicked something earlier when I was clicking around trying to set this up because, you know, last time we had a guest on, so we had to change up the arrangement in OBS. So now we have it changed back to a bit more like what it was before. So there you go. Yeah, but anyway, we are continuing on with CSE 101 class session 5, I think.
Who knows how many sessions we've done?
Yeah, this is the one that I redid because the noise was too quiet. So but I also forgot to fix the aspect ratio, and it just output at what was it? It output at 1080 while stretching the video out. So it's a little bit weird. Bent Hovind is squished.
Well, on my screen it looks stretched, but then on the stream it's almost like it's different to me.
No, it still stretches because I crop out the sides because I don't want all
Maybe
those.
I'm not squinting right.
No, I crop it so that way the black borders when they put up the slides aren't there because there's never anything going on in the.
Oh yeah, okay. There's a bunch missing there.
Yeah, there you go.
Good. All right.
All right, so we are about to be ready, but we have to go over the rules because we got drinking rules. Unlike the streets where you ain't got no rules, we got rules here. So this is a drinking game, and we do not encourage that you play along, although you may if you would like to. We accept absolutely no responsibility or liability for any injuries to yourself, any damage to property, or any injuries to other people. You have to play this game at your own risk. Tesla Ranger says Kent is swole.
Non-alcoholic kombucha or something like that. But
I'm using rum because I'm an idiot.
You want to do?
Yeah.
Just drink responsibly.
Yes, please do drink responsibly, not irresponsibly. That's bad. So, you have more Kents with Bents than there have been presidents. Yeah, that's true, actually. We're on 46 right now. So.
Yes.
Yep. Maya Atkinson, I refuse to Kent while it's over.
I think we've also bombed fewer countries than the presidents too on this channel.
Has the current president bombed any?
I don't know.
Probably. The answer is probably. Yeah, probably. There were probably bombings during his first 12 hours. Let's be honest. It's the United States.
I mean, it's not like you're going to take your oath of whatever inauguration and then immediately stop all the bombings. Like, you can't just do that immediately. So yeah,
I would have an executive order pre-made out if I were president. And so what I would do is I would take my oath of office and then immediately sign it. That would be my.
You know what? I think there's going to be another election in about 4 years.
Yeah, Dapper Dino for president.
I know who I'd vote for right now.
There you go. All right, well, let's actually get into the actual meat of this. So we drink whenever Bent Hovind gets something right that he's not just quoting from someone, right? So if he gets an actual fact right, take a drink for that, because congratulations, Kent. And, you know, we're a little bit broad with that. So, you know, sometimes if Bent Hovind just says something we tend to agree with, which happens occasionally, like when he says that, like, you know, no race is superior to another, which he likes to say occasionally. Like, yeah, okay, fair enough. That's fair. I like that. So we'll take a drink sometimes. We also take a drink whenever Bent Hovind is just so dumb that it hurts my brain to not flood it with alcohol. So there's that. We also take a drink whenever Bent Hovind tells a joke and it just falls flat, which with this audience happens a fair bit. But also we like to toss in a little bit of randomness because I have Godzilla and Mothra. There you go. Take a drink for Godzilla. Whenever they show up, we take a drink. Now, this includes the noise, which will play at It's not technically random, but I don't get to know when it's going to happen. But also, if anyone super chats and uses one of my channel member emojis, then they also get to have drink. So I will show you guys the emojis real quick. So if you join the channel, which starts at, I believe, $1.99 a month, you get access to these fancy Godzilla and Mothra emojis, as well as a Bent Hovind emoji, a Dapper Dino emoji, a cute little tetrapod emoji, a top hat and a monocle, and also Murphy the Goblin, who will be in our well, Bent and I are going to be playing in a D&D campaign. I don't think it's going to be public, but Murphy the Goblin will be there as one of the characters, so that's going to be fun. Maybe you get to hear occasional stories, D&D stories. I don't know, do people like that? Actually, you know, people do like that, because that's actually pretty popular content on YouTube is D&D stories, so maybe. You never know.
What about like a top thing? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, that's where it would be. It wouldn't be here. Yeah. So, all right, let's get going. We've enough preamble. Here we go.
It's time to amble.
Yes. Which means we have to go take a walk, because amble means walk.
Let's take a metaphorical walk through what Kent has to say.
All right.
Ted Turner, president of CNN. Communist News Network, I tell everybody. He said a total world population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% decline would be ideal. Okay, Ted, you first.
Actually, I will say that I do actually kind of agree with the you first whenever someone's like, we need to depopulate the Earth. It's like, if you feel so strongly about it, I mean, you have it within your power to decrease the population of Earth by 1. Get on it. So... And if you're not, then I question your dedication to the cause, quite honestly. So, I'm actually broadly in agreement with Kent that the people who are like big fans of trying to depopulate the Earth are kind of crazy and evil. But, what are you gonna do?
Everybody thinks somebody else ought to have to die, right? So we can have more room. Every group thinks, of course, they're the superior one. Hitler thought it was the Germans. The Japanese thought it was the Japanese that are superior.
Mostly, although they weren't as exterminationist as the Germans were. They didn't really have a population of people that they were like, we're going to get rid of all of them. Like when Germany was going around conquering parts of Europe, the intent was basically to make that new land for Germans, whereas the Japanese were more traditionally imperialist, in that the intent was that Japan would rule over and extract resources from these areas, but that the areas would remain primarily populated by the native inhabitants. So, like, when the Japanese conquered China and Korea, they weren't trying to clear out the ethnic Han Chinese or the ethnic Koreans and replace them with Japanese. They were just, trying to integrate some Japanese state Shinto and get taxes and resources flowing back to Japan, but then the plan was to leave the, native Han Chinese and Koreans in place as the primary population, and that they would slowly be, sort of Japanified, if you will, but that they would still remain there, whereas Germany was much more big on, like, let's expel all the quote-unquote undesirables. So there is a difference, but I guess the Japanese were still brutal dicks, so who cares?
They thought they are the superior race and it's their duty to rule the world. So we need to go kill everybody. They don't think that now, at least I hope they don't, but they did at a time. There's a lot of interesting articles going around about Jane Fonda becoming a Christian now. Now, she's often referred to as Hanoi Jane. You need to understand why. If you,
well, he is right about that. She's not so much anymore, but she was often referred to as Hanoi Jane, so we're going to take a drink. And if he gets this story right, we're also going to take another drink. Sorry, I have a little cough. I think I might be allergic to something. I don't know. Because we had rain recently, and so when it rains here in the desert, plants bloom, and so now there's a whole bunch of pollen that normally wouldn't be around. So,
Yeah. Write me or remind me, I can email you the letter that I have of some of the prisoners who were in Vietnam, that when Jane Fonda came over, she was demonstrating against the war. Her dad, Henry Fonda, the movie star, and Jane Fonda's a movie star too, she had gone to North Vietnam to tour the prison camps. The prisoners heard, wow, an American's coming. We've got to get word to our family that we're still alive. So a whole bunch of these prisoners lined up to shake Jane Fonda's hand. They wrote their social security number on a little strip of paper. And when they shook hands, they handed it to her. She smiled, took the paper, walked down the line. This wad of paper is getting bigger and bigger in her hand. When she got to the end, she didn't even look at it. She went over to the commandant of the camp and said, Commandant, these men are trying to get a message out. You may want to deal with this. So after she left, every one of those men got a beating. 4 men died from the beating.
I'm not positive about all the details, but it is broadly what happened, so we'll take a drink. Now, I do think that the war was worth protesting, but I also think that the poor treatment of U.S. GIs was inappropriate. Because you got to remember, a huge portion of these people were technically slave labor. Because the draft is slavery, and you're unlikely to change my mind on that, because it's involuntary servitude, not for reason of a crime. Like, that's literally what the 13th Amendment says. Like, involuntary servitude is going to be abolished in the United States unless you committed a crime. But last I checked, the draft is involuntary, and you don't have to have committed a crime to be, forced into military service. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's slavery.
Yeah, it's straight slavery. I mean, it's not as bad as... It's certainly not as bad as chattel slavery, right? Because it's not indefinite. You don't lose all of your rights. But it is definitely what I would say meets the minimal definition. So there you go.
Were killed for trying to get let their loved ones know I'm still alive. So she has been referred to as Hanoi Jane. Now, if she got saved, great. God can forgive anybody. And God can use her in a great way in his kingdom. What she did was wrong, and I hope if she's a Christian, I'm sure she realizes that. But we've all got things we've done wrong too.
Yes, because Christians always have the same political views. Sure, Kent. Whatever.
But that's why she's referred to as Hanoi Jane, just so you know.
But why does it matter, Kent? Bring it back to the topic.
Why I say everything I say, right?
He's trying to bad for credibility, I think.
But how is...
Because he's talking about Ted Turner and CNN. He's just kind of going off and off. They're all connected.
I guess.
There's the Kent Hovindites and the Lost, which is everyone else, right?
Yeah. That's a good
all
point.
the same to him. That's how I think he's interpreting it. And as someone who goes on, what are they called? I can't even think. The tangents myself, I kind of get it when Kent does it.
Yeah. So Maya Atkinson asked if she knew they would be beaten. So it's hard to say if she knew. However, you're in a prisoner of war camp being run by communists. It's not exactly a stretch. I mean, yeah. There were a lot of people who were turning pretty big blind eyes to atrocities being committed by communist regimes. And she knew that the Viet Cong were being backed by the Chinese communists, who were already well known for concentration camps and beating and killing political prisoners and whatnot. So it would be hard to imagine that she thought that this wasn't going to happen. I definitely think that she essentially ratted out those prisoners with the, maybe not the knowledge, but knowing that it was likely that that kind of thing would happen. Yeah. I wouldn't defend Jane Fonda here. Yeah, so Portuguese Eagle says, excuse me, I'm a bit lost. What is Ken's video topic here? Basically how bad people who disagree with him politically are? That's basically it.
Prince Philip of the World Wildlife Fund said,
oh, goodness.
If I could be reincarnated, I would wish to return to Earth as a killer virus to lower human population levels.
Wait, is that the Prince Philip who's also the consort of the Queen of England? Maybe.
This will be a little bit of a rabbit trail. I don't want to chase too far, but when it comes to viruses, there are all sorts of things being manufactured in laboratories purposely to lower the human population. There is some really good evidence, and you might want to do some research on this, and don't quote me as saying I can prove that it's true. But there's some really good evidence that the
Kent, I would never quote you as saying you could prove something is true. Was that supposed to be a joke?
Kent.
Was that a joke? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
AIDS virus
I
was
think he's just trying
manufactured.
to weasel his way out in case the things that he says happen to be crazy. He can be like, well, I never said I really thought it. You know, it's a weasel.
Yeah.
Intentionally in the Army laboratory in Maryland and tested by putting it into the population in Africa in the guise of putting it in as vaccines. Oh, we're here to help you from your smallpox. Come here, let me give you a shot.
Oh my goodness. I'm taking a drink for anti-vax. Yeah, in case you guys didn't know, Kent Hovind is an anti-vaxxer. It's basically pretty much the only way Kent Hovind could be worse is if he advocated for an additional genocide, because he's already in favor of a LGBT genocide. But if he wanted an extra one on top of that, like maybe a race-based genocide, that's pretty much the only way Kent Hovind could become a worse human being. He's basically the absolute scum of the earth. It's ridiculous. He's an anti-vaxxer. He's a conspiracy theorist. He runs an obscenely unsafe park where the buildings are hazardous to your health, where someone has already drowned. Allegedly, there's already been a kidnapping from the property. I mean, he sells literal poison on his website to people who are trying to get over cancer. Just sells them what's essentially just a pile of cyanide. I mean, it's... yeah. If he weren't charismatic and reasonably entertaining to listen to occasionally, I would have nothing to do with him, but whatever.
Now, the people that did it...
No one would know who he was.
Well, yeah, that's true.
If he didn't have that charisma, right?
But yeah, whenever he gets into the anti-vax stuff, it starts to really annoy. Actually, annoy is not the right word. It angers me. So hopefully this doesn't turn into a too ranty of a Kent with Bent as the alcohol continues. But if he keeps going with anti-vax stuff, maybe. Oh yeah, he's a felon too. Although I don't think that being a felon per se makes you a bad person. Like, you know, depends on what the felony was. Like if it was,
he did the time, and you know, like, is he a danger to anyone based on that crime? I don't think so.
Based on tax fraud, no. Based on other of his behavior,
that
yes.
Is just like, you could say what you want about it, but as far as I'm concerned, when someone's gone to prison for something like that and come out, like, I'm not going to say, oh, that's a changed person or not, because you never know. But
you gotta at least give him like the benefit.
I'm not going to let that affect how I treat someone. Or maybe I'll be a little more cautious, but...
We had Portuguese Eagle in the chat. He said, if you get cyanide poisoning, you can't get cancer. Kent Hovind, probably. Yeah.
Probably didn't know what they were doing, that they had tainted vaccines that would... Yes, it'll cure the smallpox, but it introduces AIDS into the system.
Yep, AIDS is a...
And now I forget the percentage, but it's...
That's what it was. They didn't know they had HIV in the vaccine they prepared.
Yeah.
That's what it was, Ken?
Yeah.
It's not like they just accidentally put AIDS in a vaccine.
No. He said that they made AIDS, or HIV, more specifically, in a laboratory, then tainted smallpox vaccines in Africa with it, and that's where HIV comes from. Never mind the fact that we have demonstrated conclusively that it is actually a mutated form of the simian immunovirus. Yeah.
We're not at the intermission. No, we're not even close to that.
No.
All right. I'll just pretend that doesn't bother me a lot.
Yeah, no, you don't have to. You just don't hurt anyone or anything. Yeah. You know, I'm just taking another drink for the whole conspiracy angle. I can't. You know, because AIDS was a government conspiracy to kill off the population of Africa, apparently.
A really high percentage of Africa has AIDS.
Yeah, a really high percentage of Africa. Okay, first of all, that's true, so I'm going to take a drink. Okay, a really high percentage of Africa has AIDS for a few reasons. The simian immunovirus primarily infects, or actually only infects hominoids, like gorillas and chimpanzees, which, you know, live in Africa. So it's the origin location of the disease. The diseases tend to be most common where they start off. Second, Africa is relatively poor and has poor healthcare facilities, as well as, you know, many parts of Africa have a very different set of sexual mores than the West. In many places in Africa, the idea of, you know, monogamy is less prevalent, And so many people will simultaneously be engaged, well, sleeping with, 3 or 4 people in places. And you've also got people like the Catholic Church running around telling people not to wear condoms. So it's sort of a perfect storm for the spread of a virulent sexually transmitted disease.
And that's why the government targeted them.
Right, yeah. So it's... Anyway.
I know.
One of the plans is to depopulate Africa and make it a big game preserve. Get rid of all the people.
Yep, and Tubian323 points out that Kent has also alleged that AIDS passed from chimpanzees to humans by humans having sex with chimps, which is almost certainly not what happened. What actually is more likely is that this was a result of the bushmeat trade, which is essentially trade in ape meat. And so if you, say, butcher an ape who has a simian immunovirus that has mutated to be able to infect humans, and you have any cuts on you, well, guess what? You just got HIV. So maybe people should stop eating weird animals, like pangolins and apes. And I say pangolins because, well, the current public health crisis happening around the world was traced back to bats. It actually seems likely that the vector was from bats to pangolins and then through pangolin food to humans, because pangolins are a commonly consumed delicacy in East Asia, even though virtually every species is endangered or critically endangered, which means they should stop eating them, please.
So all the animals can have their world back. It goes back to a philosophy of evolution which says man is expendable, and it's totally opposite of what the scripture says. This ultimately originates from Satan. On the subject of vaccines, I don't chase the rabbit too far. I'm not afraid to.
Uh-oh, get your drinks ready. This is going to get bad.
About vaccinations. You might want to call Dr. Tyler. If you get my videotape, The Bible and Health, we deal with this quite a bit. Dr. Tyler is a chiropractor in Washington, Missouri, a good friend of mine and a brilliant man when it comes to nutrition. He has all sorts of articles and books and information on vaccinations. Many people are claiming, and I think they're probably right.
You want to know about vaccinations and nutrition? Talk to a chiropractor. That's your best bet.
Was he yeah. Okay, we're just going to take a drink for recommending chiropractors. Here's the thing. Chiropractic stuff is nonsense that some guy says he got from an angel of a dead doctor. That's where chiropractic practice comes from. A guy had a vision of a dead doctor angel telling him how to fix people. And according to the founder of chiropractic, I don't know, you can fix anything from mental illnesses to, yes, back pain, to, like, tuberculosis by cracking people's spine. Yeah. And chiropractors are not real medical doctors. They aren't. And when actual studies are performed, the only health problem that chiropractic adjustment helps with, more than placebo, is back pain, but it also doesn't help more than just a regular old back massage. So just get a back massage. It's got oil and it smells nicer. And it's less painful. Just do that. There's my little rant on chiropractic. Here we go.
That probably every case of SIDS,
also, this was not medical advice,
sudden infant death syndrome, where baby just dies. They call it crib death, Baby just dies in the crib. Many people, I've heard them say, every case of SIDS is caused by vaccinations.
Yeah, babies didn't die in the crib before vaccines. Take a drink, guys.
Can't believe I'm hearing Ken say the things that I'm hearing him say.
Is it because he's now going into areas that you know about?
It's unrealistically absurd.
Yeah, and the Venerable Bede points out
I'm not convinced I'm not hallucinating right now.
I wish you were, dude, because that would be a lot better off if Kent hadn't said this.
Almost as likely as Kent saying some of these things. Like,
oh, dude, he's crazy.
Just all of these back, yeah. And as a fellow crazy person,
so the Venerable Bede points out that they even crack babies' bones for colic. So that does happen. And Maya Atkinson, that not all of them do that stuff. So it is true. There are chiropractors who basically see themselves as back pain specialists, and they are not likely to treat a baby's for colic with back cracking. However, it is the case that studies seem to indicate that it's not any better than a back massage for back pain. So it can help with that, but you can also just get a back massage. So, yeah, it is better than placebo on back pain. I will give them that. But also, they're not doctors, so you should not take medical advice from them. If you want to go to them for back pain, which is the only reason you should go to a chiropractor, try to make sure it's not one of the ones who believes that he can treat your, I don't know, your PTSD or something by clicking around your neck. And if he is one of those, maybe go the other way. Find someone else to treat you. I'm sorry, I do not like the degree to which chiropractic has become normalized in the United States, and yeah, it's a field with a lot of problems and not a whole lot of backing. But what are you gonna do? Also, by the way, guys, hit
backing?
like. Yeah, backing, like scientific backing and
backing like a pun.
Oh, I wasn't even trying to make a pun. Look at that, no pun intended. Anyway, but yeah, I'm only seeing 15 likes, guys, and I'm seeing at least 31 people watching. So somebody's slacking.
I'm seeing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Tyler, on the video, The Bible and Health, he goes through all sorts of stats and charts and documentation of where this information is coming from. That Alzheimer's disease is probably caused by vaccinations because they use such a high dose of formaldehyde as part of the carrier for the vaccination.
Okay, I'm taking a drink for that. Oh my goodness. Okay, Ken, if Alzheimer's disease is caused by a vaccination, then what we should see is Alzheimer's disease not doing things like running in families, but instead being tightly correlated with increases in vaccination. But that's not what we see. Instead, it seems to have a combination of environmental and genetic factors. So, no, Ken, there is no reason to think that vaccines cause...
Ken doesn't care about evidence.
I can't.
Bent Hovind does not care about evidence.
Yeah. And plus, it's not like people getting really old
statement.
And losing cognitive function isn't something that's been happening throughout history. Like, I'm going to keep hitting play.
They give you a vaccine they're putting is formaldehyde and it's high in aluminum. And for years, people have known that aluminum builds up in the system and is one of the key causes of Alzheimer's disease. And they keep looking for, how are we getting this aluminum in our system? Is it the cooking pots we're using? Is it the aluminum coffee pots? Is it, aluminum things we're cooking with, or aluminum cans for Coca-Cola? Well, the amount you get from a Coca-Cola can, the aluminum that gets into your Coke, is real close to zero. This gigantic doses of it put right into your bloodstream.
That's not even true. Some vaccine preservatives have aluminum in them, but you're not getting constant vaccines throughout your life. Plus, I don't know if Kent knows this, but aluminum is one of the most common elements in this thing called topsoil, which is the kind of thing that gets into your food. Most of your aluminum dose throughout your entire lifetime is coming from the food you eat.
Is he wrong like a 9 consecutive things he said now?
Yep, I'm taking another drink for it.
Every time you see me do this, it's not tired. It's like, I want to punch my monitor, dude. I can't believe all this nonsense he's spewing.
But here's the thing. You know this.
Listen to nonsense. Listen to experts in their fields, because they're not trying to lie to you. They might be trying to sell you something, but it's based on reality to some degree.
Yeah.
Not this nonsense that Bent Hovind is spewing.
So Bent, here's something though, right? You work in the medical field, and so you keep abreast of a lot of medical stuff, right? Just generally.
I mean, it's pretty specialized. It's a pretty specialized field, and I try not to leave that specialty too much. But
you still, you read about this kind of medical stuff and things like that, right?
Yeah, I kind of get it.
So how you're feeling now is similar to how I feel when he talks about things like anatomy or paleontology.
Look, I have a bachelor's degree in cytotechnology. Not a doctor.
No.
My job involves providing medical consultations to other doctors in real time mainly for biopsy triage. It's an amazing job. I love doing it. And then also a lot of slide screening too.
Yeah.
Giving my interpretation, and then a doctor has to verify it. We're right 99.9% of the time or more. And the times that we're not right, I'm not convinced that the doctor's not right or not wrong.
Because sometimes doctors get it wrong too.
And we were right.
Yeah.
And we can prove it later. And it's like,
Sorry, Henry Hansen asked, has he mentioned cell phones yet and 5G? Well, this is a bit early for him to be into those conspiracies. In fact, I don't actually think he's a real big 5G guy right now. Kent Hovind he's not tech savvy, but he doesn't usually strike me as a technophobe.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we like write out everything he says in script form, and then we'll just find like a pattern every like 70th letter or something, and it'll be like something like 5G is the Antichrist or something.
We could absolutely do
find that somewhere.
We could definitely do it. Because that's how large blocks of text work. You can find literally anything if the block of text is big enough. But here we go. We're going to hit play again.
To the vaccinations. And of course, now if I were the devil, and I wanted to kill everybody on the planet, I would have all sorts of ways going at the same time to accomplish my goal.
Would you? Okay.
I'd try to destroy people physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, every way possible.
About them spiritually,
it's a
physically,
the devil wants you to be poor. Sorry. I just don't get the financial part. Homelessness is caused by Satan, I guess.
Multifaceted attack on us. He's after us. He hates us. He hates everybody. Now, he's got some of these super rich folks thinking they should reduce the population to 500 million. What they don't know is when he's done using them, he's going to kill them also. They think we need to get it to 500 million. He thinks we should get it to 0. He's trying to avoid the fulfillment of that prophecy. The seed of the woman is going to bruise his head. Now, when Jesus died on the cross, that was a bruise to the heel. He thought it was fatal, but he came back alive, didn't he? The death on the cross was probably the bruise on the heel, and someday we're going to see Satan cast into hell.
Right, so that's not an actual literal interpretation, Kent?
Yeah, you would think that it's supposed to be a literal interpretation, right? I mean...
Because you can metaphorically interpret that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, although the metaphorical interpretation Kent Hovind is giving is actually fairly standard in Christian typological interpretations of the Bible, so I would say his interpretation is reasonable from a Christian standpoint.
In Georgia, between Atlanta and Greenville, 7 miles north on Highway 77. Did you go by there and see those, Eric? Who was it? Mike went? No, Jeremy. I performed the wedding for Jeremy out here in the yard. He went by and saw him. I got a picture of Jeremy standing by the...
The Venerable Bede asks, but doesn't Satan rule hell? And the answer is basically only in extra-biblical, like, relatively late Christian literature. Oh, drink for Godzilla. The general Christian interpretation up until basically like the late medieval, early modern period when people started writing sort of like Bible fanfic that got popular was that Satan, he's actually called the prince of this world, and by this world, it's like, the inhabited earth. And the idea is he's going to be cast into hell as part of an eschatological event. And then it's not even clear in the Bible that Satan would be ruling hell. So, yeah, the sort of pop Christianity version of Satan ruling hell and being the guy who's in charge of torturing all the people there, not actually something you could get from the Bible. You got to get into like late medieval, early modern Christian speculative fiction, basically, before you get to that idea. And then that became popular because people like dualism, so like God being in charge of heaven, Satan being in charge of hell, and Satan is tempting people because he wants to get more souls into hell so he can rule over more people or something. But that is not actually an idea that you could reasonably get from the Bible, nor is it actually the official teaching of like the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church or anything like that. So, yeah. Turvoy asks if he's late. I mean, a bit, but like, whatever. Dude, just people are always welcome in late.
Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones, here they are right here. There's Jeremy standing at the bottom.
The Venerable Beat says, well, damn, now I don't trust the show, Lucifer. Sorry, man. But here's the thing about that. Like, I still enjoy shows like that get, like, the tenets of whatever religion wrong. It's still fun. Like, I don't care. Look, I even had fun watching The Warrior Nun, which was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, which is one of the reasons I liked it, because it was just absolutely off the walls. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. There's a bunch of ladies running around killing demons for some reason, and I'm okay with that. And then one of them is like phasing through brick walls because an angel halo got shoved into her back somehow while she was dead. Look, whatever, dude. I like all sorts of crazy stuff like that. It doesn't have to get the Christianity or whatever religion right. Whatever.
These are huge granite slabs set up. The reason they chose this place, the Cherokee Indians used to own this property. They called it, I forget the Cherokee name, but they called it the center of the universe. Probably everybody thinks where they live is the center of the universe, but the Cherokee Indians thought this was the center of the universe. And if you look at the top left-hand corner, it says this is set up by Arthur C. Christian, a pseudonym. Pseudo means false. Pseudonym is a false name.
You know what? I'm just going to give it to you. Technically, you are correct, Kent. Pseudo from, what is it? What is the Greek word? I think the actual word, like the general adjective, is pseudo. Whatever. But he is right about that from Greek. So I'm taking a drink for Kent getting something right. Because normally he gets Greek wrong, right? He gets languages wrong in general, so...
Some guy came to town with a pocket full of money, went to the granite quarry and said, I want these slabs cut, I want this written on here, and I want you to put it up over here, paid for the whole thing, and disappeared. He called himself Arthur C. Christian, and he admits it's a pseudonym. This is not my name. Lots of folks have researched this and come to the conclusion this was a Masonic lodge. The guys who were behind this were in the Masonic lodge. Now, first,
I'm taking another drink from Masonic lodge. Guys, the Masonic Lodge is basically just a social club for men. That's really all it is at this point. Maybe at some point it really did have some actual, like, real honest belief behind a lot of this stuff, but for now, at this point, it's basically just a bunch of guys who want to get together, do some fun little rituals, and then drink. That's most of it. And the thing is, look, ritual is a big part of the human experience. There's a reason that people perform rituals even if they don't believe that there's any particular like actual power behind them. So for instance, a huge proportion of sports players engage in ritual behavior before they actually go perform. And if you ask a lot of them, do they think, oh, we got from Tesla Ranger, apparently it's Sevdis from Wikipedia. There you go. Sevdis is the sort of lexical form of false in Greek. But anyway, rituals help calm people down. They help people get into a routine. They help them build a sense of community. So, yeah, that's basically what the Masonic Lodge is at this point. It's not trying to take over the world. It's not trying to depopulate the world. It's not trying to get you to worship Satan. It's basically just a bunch of guys who get together every once in a while, have some weird rituals, have some drinks, and then sometimes they join the Shriners and, like, give to charity, which doesn't exactly sound like a bad thing to me. Now, the official teachings of the Masonic Lodge do contradict most versions of Christianity, although I would argue most members of the Masonic Lodges don't actually believe any of those things. And for that reason, a number of churches have banned membership in the Masonic Lodges for their members. But that still doesn't make them a horrible, evil cabal trying to take over the world and delete the population of Earth.
certainly not all Masons are bad. We'll get into more on the Masons later.
Oh, hey.
The average Mason
I'll take a
doesn't
drink
have
on
a clue
that.
what he's
It's
in.
true. Not all
He
Masons
thinks he's
are
in a
bad.
do-gooders club, and they do an awful lot of good.
I'll
It's
take a
only
drink for that
those who
too.
get
That
to
is
the
true.
top finally figure out we're in a satanic organization.
A satanic organization that donates heavily to food banks because Satan wants to kill everybody. Got it, Kent. That makes sense. A satanic, a satanic organization that does things like fund park cleanups in local communities. Oh no! Like, my goodness. If that's what Satan's into, is like donating to food banks and cleaning up inner cities, you know what? Good job, Satan. I mean, come on. Are you advertising for Satan here, Kent? They do a lot of good, but they're satanic. It's like, all right, well, then I guess Satan is not bad of a guy.
And it really is satanic, but they won't know that. And they purposely try to bring in
Then how do
Christians
you
into
know
their
it,
organization.
If they don't know it until they get to the top, how would you know? Were you above the top? And that's how you knew? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Bent Hovind is secretly the 85th level secret High Mason Lord. That's the real twist here. Oh, goodness. And the thing is, while technically the Masons are an esoteric group, like, no one actually cares. Pretty much everything the Masons do has been leaked at some point or another. And you know how much they care? Like, not at all. They're just like, whatever. Let's go have a big meal.
Pastors, just so they get a good image for the community. Because there's a secret club inside that secret club. And the average Mason doesn't know about this secret club on the inside. But anyway,
no inner
I can't prove it's set up by the Masons. This is what the research has shown.
There's an inner circle.
Yes, there's an inner. Oh, goodness.
And if you go even further, it's just pure aluminum vaccine everywhere. So bad.
At the center of the world's most important Masonic lodge is just a pile of aluminum vaccines that are all infected with HIV.
All right, here's what I'm going to do for the rest of this stream, if I can do it in my head. I'm just going to pretend that Kent's describing a dream when he talks.
Fair enough.
Some Masons sponsored to have this done. But on the Georgia Guidestones in 12 languages, it says, commandment number 1, maintain humanity under 500 million. That's a $500 million. Now, wait a minute. There's already 6
Kent got the math right. I'll take a drink.
billion on the planet.
Dream math.
How are you going to maintain it under a $500 million? Well, it looks to me like somebody has to go, right?
Well, technically, you could do mass sterilization. Not that I'm advocating for that. I'm just saying, technically, you don't have to kill anyone to ultimately get the population under 500,000. You could just sterilize huge swaths of humanity. Now, that's a kind of eugenics thing to do, so, a little bit iffy there, and I'm definitely not okay with it, but it is probably better than just killing almost everyone.
It seems better than killing almost everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't mean it's good, but it's definitely better than that alternative.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely rather be forcibly sterilized than have to roll like a d12, and if I don't roll a 12, I die.
Yeah.
So.
A whole bunch of somebodies have to go. If you want to see all 10 of the 10 commandments for the New Age, they're listed on radioliberty.com, is a great website, and also, I forgot the www, but cuttingedge.org is a good website that deals with this type of thing, of these guys who have plans for their new world order. In the center, there's a slot. I'll back it up here. You can see right above Jeremy's head, right beside Jeremy, there's a black line there. That's a slot cut in the granite. On June 21st, at summer solstice, when the sun's as high as it's going to get above the equator, it shines through that slot at high noon and focuses on a dot down on a piece of concrete or something. I don't know what's on the dot, but if it's all this symbolism stuff, sort of like Stonehenge and, you know, the Great Pyramid and all this same kind of stuff. But there's the Georgia Guidestones. If you're ever driving through there, Eric, stop and see that. To get your picture next to it, we'll put you there. The population today, though, is about 6 billion. It's over 6 billion. And it indicates man has not been here for millions of years. So this is the first one of the evidences I use that the Earth is not billions of years old. The population simply doesn't support the idea.
Oh my goodness, that was his whole point from last time, and it's still stupid. I'm still going to drink for it.
I have a question, Kent. What if the Earth's been around for billions of years, and the population of the Earth hits 7 billion people, and then we implement and bring it back down to 500,000? That's happened like 7,000 times. How would you even know, Kent?
Yeah, that is a good point.
Like if you're just gonna completely, I don't know. He's talking, and I'm just thinking, Kent Hovind has 10,000 PowerPoint slides. He probably has 10,000 sentences in his head. You never know which one's coming next, right? But they're all up in there, right?
Yeah.
Is he actually trying to... I'm sorry. I have no question. There's no end to that question. Is he actually trying to... That's the question.
The answer is probably yes.
Keep in mind, the evolutionist must have billions of years, and it isn't available.
Well, yes, the quote-unquote evolutionist, by which we mean anyone who takes science seriously, must have billions of years. But you are wrong that it is not available. Did I move off the play button? Here we go. Come on.
Let's take a little mini quiz. It won't count for a grade. What was the population in 1800?
Oh yeah, I want to remind you, the reason he says it won't count for a grade is because Kent is claiming that there are some colleges who are accepting attendance at this class for credit, which is horrifying.
1 billion. The time of Christ, what was it? 1/4 of a billion. Oh, it's right there on the chart. When did we cross over the 5 billion mark? 1985, right. Nobody argues about these dates. 1962, 3 billion. Now this is an interesting thought. This certainly couldn't be proven, but it very well could be true. How many of the people born in 1930 are still alive?
What?
Quite a few, right? There's 70.
I don't know if you could prove it. Oh, wait. No, you can't prove a question, Kent. What the heck are you talking about, Kent?
Want to take a drink for malformed sentences?
Sports balls, stress balls, Kent. That's what I do when I watch.
Let's take a drink. If it makes you take a stress ball break, it's stupid enough to take a drink.
It's like the whole time, essentially.
Years old. It has been said, I don't know that you could prove it, but it has been said there could be more people alive today than there are people that are dead today.
Maybe.
The total population of the world.
I think it's estimated at, 70 billion total?
I have no idea. It's one of those things where, like,
I don't remember what the number is. It's out there. Quick Google search. But it's far more than 7.5 billion.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong and someone in chat corrects me, that's fine.
I mean, I have no clue. It's one of those things where, like, I don't really care what those numbers are, so, like, I just don't want to check.
I don't know why he's focusing on all the numbers other than trying to say, because of all these large numbers, it couldn't have happened in, I don't know.
Millions or billions of years? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
That's lived and died could be less than 6 billion. I don't know. But that's an interesting thought when you stop and put that together. So, wow. Talk about an opportunity for the mission field. We have more people to reach now than ever before. Certainly more. We can reach more now than Paul did and Peter did. And we have better ways to do it. You know, you can preach on TV and it goes all over the world. Or via the internet. And I think we ought to use every available means to reach every available person.
That is technically true, so I'm going to drink for it. It is easier to preach now than it would have been in the 1st century AD. So,
well, I just looked this up. There are the Population Reference Bureau estimates that about 107 billion people have ever lived.
How many? Say it again.
Near 107 billion people have ever lived.
That's a lot.
There are 15 dead people for every person living, approximately, and this is actually an estimate from 2012. So I don't know.
It probably isn't going to increase that much, but I
don't know if it's going to increase or decrease, but I don't think it's going to decrease below 7 billion.
Yeah, no.
Which is the current population. So.
Okay, take a couple more facts here about the population, about the age of the universe, and then we'll quit for the day. The galaxies, the stars are generally in big clusters called galaxies. What galaxy do we live in? The Milky Way galaxy, right?
Oh, he got it
Which
right.
is why if you look in the sky a certain direction, you kind of look through the side of our own galaxy, and it's kind of all white, like a milky stripe across there, because it's zillions of stars.
And he actually got the etymology right, so I'll take a drink for that too.
The stars in the middle are going faster. Now, the star itself, you can't tell if it's spinning or not, but it's moving in a circle around the center of its galaxy.
Of course you can tell if it's, well, I guess distant stars you can't tell, but I mean, they are. But whatever.
You can know why they are spinning without being able to observe it.
Yeah. Okay, so
based on a thing that Bent Hovind knows about.
It's like a hybrid of stupid and technically true, so I'm just gonna not drink for it because it cancels out. Sure. Okay, fine. I guess I'll drink for it. But yeah, the chances that any given star is not spinning is basically 0. But I guess technically we can't measure it except for our own star, so sure, Kent.
The stars in the middle go faster than the stars at the outside.
That's true.
So the galaxy is slowly winding up. The center ones are going to go faster, and it's going to spiral, it's going to twist itself in. And that's what causes the spiral arms.
Oh, no. No. Oh, okay. Look, I think we went into this before, but
yeah.
The spiral arms are effectively a standing pressure wave. They are not a given collection of stars. The reason that they're clearly visible is because they are areas of active star formations, because high-density areas result in more gravitational collapse of the kinds of dust clouds, basically, that form stars. Taking a drink for extremely bad cosmology and astronomy.
Stars move in and out of the spiral arms.
Yes, they do.
Not there permanently, right? So, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't learn that on PBS Spacetime. So, like, Kent doesn't know it, sure, but he's also acting like he does and teaching a wrong thing about it.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Here we go.
But this can only happen for a short time. Can't happen for billions and billions of years, because if the stars were all moving different speeds, pretty soon you wouldn't have these arms anymore. It would be just one big, smooth, homogeneous mass.
Yes, you would, Kent,
I
but
want
we
to get
already
the book
covered it.
In the Beginning by Walt Brown. He gives the details on this and references of where you can find the proof of this. Page 23 and page 30, he deals with a lot on this. That's a fascinating book. Now, Walt Brown doesn't agree with me on a couple things, on the canopy theory and stuff like that. I'll straighten him out someday. But he's just a brilliant man, and it's really an awesome book. I'd recommend that. Yes, sir.
Do you think the book In the Beginning is better than the other book?
Get an extra mic for the audience, Kent. I know you have a clip-on mic on your tie, but my goodness, you're putting these videos out. Mike, get us a portable mic for the audience. Okay, look. Here's the thing, right? I put in like my scripted videos, I do somewhere around an hour of work for each minute and a half or so that goes into it. Right? Like, I am putting a lot of effort into these videos, and it just bugs the heck out of me how low effort Bent Hovind is.
We were talking on Discord yesterday, and you were like, "Oh, I gotta go for a while. I gotta do some script writing." And how long were you gone? You came back, and you were on page 6. And that, what is it? 1 minute per page or something like that?
No, it's more. It's more than that for me because I'm not double spacing it.
Okay.
So
but still, like, that was you were gone hours, and it's like you guys will. I don't even know what video it's gonna be or whatever. You guys will see it in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever. But like, there's a lot of work that Dapper does to do this,
and it bugs me how low effort Kent is.
A lot of reading, finding interesting things, and then script writing, and like.
And Bent Hovind can't even properly mic his videos. And it really bugs me. Like, Kent, just put in the effort. It's so little effort, you could make such better videos.
I think he just didn't think anyone would have any questions, or I don't know. Because
maybe,
like,
I don't know.
Why is this being recorded at all?
So that he can use it.
So we can put it out there.
Yeah.
Okay, like there's no planning there.
He sold these as VHSs, I guarantee it. That's why more than one channel has these, is because he sold them as VHSs. And that was his plan originally. Was we were going to do this for these kids, and then we're going to sell the VHS.
I tried to give you benefit of the doubt there.
But the thing is, if that wasn't his plan, he wouldn't have videotaped it, and he wouldn't have edited it so that we can see the slides.
Right, yeah, I know.
So, yeah, he was intending for these to go out to the public, and even that was how low effort Bent Hovind was. It's... I'm sorry, but when people are just that low effort in their video production, it kind of bugs me. But anyway.
It's a Young World by John Morris. It's different. They're both good. If you look in your seminar notebook on page, we're talking about the age of the Earth.
Yeah, never miss an opportunity to grift Bent Hovind. Fair, Maya.
On page 12, 13, 11, 12, 13 is where I talk about the evidence from the age of the Earth. Page 11 has the sources. If you want to read good books on this topic, I've got 12 of them listed here. All of these books deal with the question, how old is the universe? And if you want to go down deep, stay down long, come up dry.
That's what she said?
It might be.
Okay.
I think he's trying to tell a joke, though.
This is some of the stuff you want to read right here. I would say,
yeah, you know
Henry Morris's book, Scientific...
It does sound like it was a joke, because he chuckled at it and no one else did, so yeah, you know what? taking a quick drink.
Creationism would be a great one. I would start with. If you want a simpler one, so that's not too hard. The very last one, John Morris, A Young Earth. We sell that here through our ministry, or you can get it through ICR or Master Books. Walt Brown in the Beginning, number 11, is a great one. If you can only pick a few, I'd pick those three. Probably next would be number 4, Paul Ackerman. It's a Young World After All. That's a really good one. Those are some that you might want to get just to gain more information, so you can document what you're saying on this topic. What I do on my slides here, I put other documentation at the bottom, so I can just keep on talking and speed up, and if somebody has a question, well, they can look it up for themselves, a reference at the bottom. So the galaxies also, there's another thing I don't mention here, but I do in the seminar notebook. Not only are the galaxies themselves spinning and closing in tighter, and the arms should be disappearing, but the clusters of galaxies. You got 10 galaxies all clustered together. Together is a relative term. They're a long ways apart. But
that's true. They are a long ways apart. I'll take a drink for that.
They're spreading out. The galaxy clusters are expanding.
Not all of them, Kent. Oh my goodness. I'm taking a drink.
I can't drink anymore. My stomach is too full.
Well, we're gonna take a break soon. We're going to take a quick intermission soon. But here's the thing. The reason galaxies are in clusters is because they are gravitationally bound to each other. That is why clusters of galaxies exist. And so, no, clusters of galaxies are not all spreading apart. In fact, I don't know if you've ever heard of this galaxy. It's called the Andromeda Galaxy. I've seen it with my naked eye. But you have too. We went and looked at it together on top of a mountain.
Well, that was also through a telescope, too.
Well, but we also saw it with our naked eye. At least I did.
You may have. I just had to pretend. It's so faint, dude.
It is
I have seen it
extremely
before
faint.
with my naked eye, but it is stinking faint.
It is. But you can see it with your naked eye if you're in a dark enough spot that is clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
It is currently racing towards the Milky Way. And in what is it, like 30 billion years or something?
Oh, it's, 5 or 6 billion years?
Maybe it's 5 or 6.
billion
I don't know.
years.
It's billions of years away. But the two will collide, and they will merge, because they are gravitationally bound. And the Milky Way has satellite galaxies, and so does the Andromeda Galaxy. And those satellite galaxies will all start orbiting the new, bigger galaxy.
Isn't the large and small Magellanic Clouds, those are nearby satellite galaxies?
They orbit the Milky Way.
Evidence that they're actually already passed through our galaxy and
there was actually some recent papers published about one of the Magellanic Clouds having possibly passed through the actual ring of the disk of the Milky Way. I'm not sure where that settled out because I don't keep.
are we in the process of that collision still happening right now? It seems like it.
I don't think so because
it's going to keep drifting off forever if it's going too fast.
I don't think we're still in that process, but I mean, look, I don't keep as close an eye on astronomy papers as I do on, say, like paleontology. But anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick intermission, so I can do things like refresh my drink. Bent Hovind can, I don't know.
My bladder's not full. My stomach is full, so I don't know what's going to happen. But
well, I don't recommend.
Second half drinks go.
I don't recommend inducing vomiting.
I'm not going to do that either.
But also not medical advice. So ask your doctor. Maybe he will recommend it. I don't know. Either way, here comes an intermission. I want to take a moment to talk about something serious. There is a problem facing late surviving non-avian dinosaurs in modern America. Hunting is very strictly regulated, and only allowed at certain times of the year. This means that for much of the year we have to rely on farm-raised food, which means money. If you want to help a starving dinosaur, please consider donating on Patreon, or buying from my merch store. Links are in the description. Please help. Dinosaurs all over YouTube are depending on you to help them through the hunting off-season. Nani? Dare? Oh, Kojiro desu ka? Hai, Kojiro-san. Hai. All right, we are back. Sorry, I quickly switched to the wrong scene, but that's okay. We have 2 super chats from the break. So first, we have Buddy from the outside chat for 5 saying, G-Man is boasting Dapper Dino will be on his show weekly. True or false? I guess it's neither. So here's the thing. If G-Man would like to invite me on his show, I am willing to go, provided that he continue his more recent behavior of being a reasonably respectful interlocutor. If that persists, then I am willing to go on his channel if he asks me. I can't commit to doing it weekly, just because, I mean, look, things come up. I'm not going to block off a particular section of my channel for, like, GTV, because, like, look, no, G-Man, if you watch this, no shade on you, but, like, I can't make you that high of a priority, because, like, we're not, like, IRL friends or anything, and, like, we don't... Oh, drink for Godzilla. And, you know, I'm not going to just block off that kind of chunk of my schedule, so... But, on the other hand, you know, if I'm not doing anything, and G-Man wants to have a discussion that I'm interested in, then, yeah, I'll show up, whatever. Provided, like I said, that he continues to be a decently well-behaved interlocutor like he has in the last few months, actually. Like, he was very well-behaved when he was on my channel, when I went on his channel, when he was on Cheshire Vic's channel, when he was on Modern Day Debate. So, like, G-Man has been really, I would say, cleaning up his act in a considerable way. Because, like, a year ago, if you had told me that G-Man was someone I would have on my channel and it'd be a pleasant conversation, I would have disagreed with you. No way.
But, hey, you know.
But yeah, so I can't say I'll be there weekly. I haven't heard anything about him asking me to be there weekly. But if he asks me to be a relatively regular or frequent guest, provided he continues his current trend, then yeah, I'll show up. Also, TD Lane for $5 says, so when are we starting BibleFiction.net and uploading the Quran, Book of Mormon, and Bent Hovind Bible, KHB? And then he puts in, of course, a Mothra emoji, which means we take a drink for Mothra.
I do need more water.
And so the answer to that is TD Lane. Whenever you bother to actually get that web domain, feel free, man. I don't know how we're going to upload the Bent Hovind Bible, since, like, I don't think he actually sells an official Bent Hovind Bible. But, I mean, hey, feel free. Oh, so Vesta Freya says, I'm wondering if DD is Darth Dawkins rather than Dapper Dino. That might be. So, if that's what he means, then if he means Darth Dawkins, I cannot say at all. He hasn't approached me about a weekly show. Actually, honestly, if he wanted to be on this channel and he wanted to have, like, a weekly creation evolution discussion show, I wouldn't really be opposed. Again, provided that he continues on his current trajectory of being a respectful interlocutor, which has not always been the case for him. Which, I mean, I've been open with him about. So I don't think that this would come as a shock to him. But maybe it is Darth Dawkins. That would probably make more sense since he hasn't approached me about that. So, and I really don't follow Darth Dawkins. I don't really know anything about Darth Dawkins, so I can't really say. But yeah, let's keep going with some Bent Hovind now.
Which proves they haven't been moving for billions of years. I'm real cautious. Eric, in the early days when I was doing my seminar, I would quote a number, and I would say, this proves the galaxies have to be less than 1 billion years old. And some of the skeptics who don't seem to see the force because the trees are in the way, you know, they will say, oh, it's not 1 billion, it's 1.5 billion. You can't do your math. And they would pick on the number and still miss the whole point. So I'm real cautious now to not give specific numbers when I go through these proofs of a young Earth. And nothing proves.
Yes, there's nothing like avoiding specific numbers when you're trying to talk about science. I'm taking a drink. My goodness.
Like, okay, would it make more sense? How specific are these numbers? I mean, 6,000 years is pretty stinking specific, Kent. It's very specific. Now, if you're like, well, I didn't say October, whatever, 2000 or 6003 BC or whatever, like, that doesn't matter. Saying it's 6,000 years, give or take, is incredibly specific compared to the reality of the evidence of the age of the Earth and the universe.
Yeah.
So when you say you don't want to give specific numbers, I look right behind you and I see 6,000 years ago. I mean, 2,000 years ago, Jesus, that's basically known in history, sure. But 6,000 year creation, like, that's a very specific, wrong statement you're making that you're saying while saying you're not going to be specific. It's just the sheer complete lack of like self-awareness of what you're actually saying versus what you're teaching. Like,
I'm just going to point out. Sorry, Brian Stevens just said, in an alternate universe, G-Man and Gutsick Given have a weekly show where Matt Dillahunty, the pre-sup apologist, calls in. That would amuse me. That actually might be a version of the Atheist Hour or whatever it's called that I would actually watch, because you guys want to know how much specifically atheist content I consume on a weekly basis? The answer is basically 0. I have no interest in that. Like, it just... I've tried to watch a little bit of it, and I was just like, no, I can't. And Turboy4 2 says, oh boy, here comes the Kent cringe! That is true. Here comes the Kent cringe. But let's get some more of it in.
The Earth is 6,000 years old, except the Bible. That's the only way you're going to get 6,000 is from this book.
That's true. That is literally the only way you're going to get 6,000 years. Yeah.
The book doesn't even say 6,000 years.
No, it doesn't. But no one else gets that number.
Okay. That's true.
Yeah.
There's ways you can limit it to less than billions, but the only way you're going to get 6,000 is right here.
Well, no, you're not going to limit it to less than billions, but whatever.
Red stars, they call them a red giant star. Now, I have to stop right here and say, you get the biggest telescope in the world, you look at the closest star, you cannot tell how big it is. All you see is a dot.
I'm out.
All right.
No, I'm here. I'm good.
You want to take a drink?
This is fake pills worthy. So everything that Ken says in this entire video is wrong, except for like 3 things maybe.
Yeah, so basically you can use things like stellar spectrum, luminosity, and stellar mass, which you can observe in a number of ways to actually determine the approximate volume of stars. I've actually done the math in my astronomy class. I'm not going to get into it here because it's kind of boring and lots of terms and whatnot. But yes, you can. Bent Hovind just has never even taken an intro class to astronomy. Look, the class I took was for non-STEM field major science class. This is one of the classes that people who aren't good at science tend to take. Oh, drink for Godzilla. And yeah, I sat there and actually used real observations that had been made to calculate things like the mass and volume of stars. It's not that hard to do. It just takes a lot of algebra.
Look, if you look at a star in a telescope, it'll look like a dot. So therefore, all of astronomy and astrophysics is those guys are just
Made
making
up.
stuff up,
Yep.
right, Ken? Because you think that if you look in a telescope and you'll just see a dot, then no one else could ever know
Anything.
anyway,
No.
right? Because you're the expert on everything, right? If you don't know it, it can't be known.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of dots out there.
So I think it's probably true that red stars are larger, but we don't know that for.
No, Kent, not
No,
all
no,
red
sure.
stars are just bigger. I'm taking another drink. Oh my goodness. Kent, red giants aren't all the red stars. Red stars are just lower temperature. That can be because of a star being late in its life cycle, as in red giants, but it could also just be a low mass star. Because there's another class of stars, red dwarfs. You ever hear of it? There was a TV show named that. You know why it was named that? Because it's one of the most common kinds of main sequence stars.
Isn't it like 90% of all main sequence stars?
Yeah, it's a
Something like that?
huge portion of main sequence
Yeah.
stars.
So how many of those are typically in their red giant phase? At like
Basically
any given
none,
time?
because their
pretty
lifespan
much
is like
none,
like yeah, the lifespan of a red dwarf star is like 20 billion years. It's
Wait,
ridiculous.
isn't it? No. Like it's like 100 billion or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
it's-
or even more
It's
than that.
absurdly
Like,
long.
Not a single one of those stars has had anywhere near enough time to burn through its hydrogen. Because I don't know if you know this about stars, but the more massive a star is, the more hydrogen it has. But also, there's a lot more gravity and the more pressure, and it will burn through its hydrogen so much faster than the smallest mass stars. Those don't really burn through their hydrogen quickly at all. And so,
Bent
the grand scheme
Hovind
of the
dishing
age
the astronomy knowledge. That's awesome.
Yeah, so in the grand scheme of like the age of the 13.78 billion year universe, I think every red dwarf is something like 4 months old in the equivalent of a human lifespan.
Yeah.
And they won't burn through.
Look,
no, they could collide potentially. Or
There
other
is
things
going to
can
be
happen.
there's going to be a period of time in the life of the universe when, for billions of years, every single star that hasn't already gone nova or supernova will be a red dwarf.
Probably like white dwarf remnants too, and things like that.
Well,
but-
those are stars that have gone nova or supernova.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So, yeah.
Over 1 trillion years. Okay, I didn't think it was 100 trillion, but I knew it was like way more than the age of the universe. And again, PBS Spacetime.
Yeah, just
It's
go subscribe.
free. It's from PBS. It's confusing. Rewatch the video 10 times until it makes sense. Like, and then it's not enough, but you can pick up on so much more than what Kent is. And I know this was way before that was a thing, but look, Kent, there's encyclopedias. I mean, there's information available. You just have to learn it.
Yeah.
I'm not assuming that you know it all, because if I look in a telescope, it still looks like a little dot. It's not good enough, Kent. That's not intellectually honest.
Well, I would never associate Kent with intellectual honesty, let's be honest.
Positively. All the astronomers say the red stars are larger. How do you know that? well, we think it's larger.
Oh my goodness, I'm just
Well,
taking a drink.
Maybe
I'm not
it
going
is.
to
It
pause.
probably is, but I'd be careful about being dogmatic about that. You cannot see the size of any
You
of
don't
these stars.
understand it, Kent. Just because you don't understand the answer doesn't mean their answer is wrong.
Right.
You can't even see a star. You don't see the surface, I mean, like you see the sun with the flames leaping off. Get the biggest telescope in the world. Look,
Okay, I might have to drink twice. One, it's true. You cannot see the surface of any star but the sun. So take a drink for Kent being right. But also, Kent just said that there are flames leaping off the surface of the sun, which implies that he thinks the sun is made of fire. Do we take a drink for that?
It's either made of fire or it's on fire. Yeah, I think he's said that before. He thinks the sun is burning. as a burning
Like it needs
fire.
oxygen and it's like burning a big pile of sunwood
It's
or
not
something?
the most uncommon misconception.
But it's still
Like, what
really
happens
dumb.
if you were to? I said maybe this was another PBS Space Time. If we had a magical, enormous hose and we try to use water and put the sun out, what would really happen? And it's like, oh, the hydrogen in there would just add to the the oxygen too, but it would add to the mass of the sun, and fusion would increase, and it would actually
Make it hotter.
make it hotter, but it would burn through quicker. But like, you're not putting the sun out with water,
Right.
because it's not a fire.
So I'm going to take a drink.
It's nuclear fusion
And
out of
plasma.
space. It's a giant ball of nuclear fusion not exploding, but pressure's
Radiating.
pushing out, and the gravity's keeping it in, and it finds this equilibrium at its current.
Yeah,
size.
I'm going to take a drink for flames on the sun. Let's just go for it, because that is flat Earth level wrong. My goodness, the sun is a ball of fire, guys. No,
But the closest star, which is Alpha Centauri,
well, the closest star besides the sun, but I think that's probably
It's
what it means.
Proxima Centauri.
Yeah.
Not
Well, hey, but that's true. That's true, though. So I'll take a drink. This is actually a really drink-heavy episode. I'm going through my drink pretty fast.
and all you see is a dot.
Yeah, that's.
You get a bigger telescope, you see the dot better.
I'll take a drink.
That's
That's
about
true.
it. When they put the Hubble up, somebody said, "Are you worried when they put the Hubble up they're going to prove evolution?" I said, "Oh no, I can tell you exactly what they're going to see with the Hubble."
What?
He said, "What?" I said, "They're going to see more stars."
How would the Hubble telescope prove evolution?
He has no idea what he's talking about.
What is happening? Evolution is something that happens with living organisms. How many of those can Hubble see? Is it 0, Kent?
Can you pick two things that have less to do with one another? Because I don't know if I can on
It's-
purpose. If I tried,
It would be
Hubble
difficult.
telescope evolution. What?
I don't know, dude. It makes
How?
0 sense to me.
All right, hold on. There's some kind of stupid you just can't fix.
Quote Bent Hovind. That's actually something he said about me, by the way.
I knew it was a quote he said. I just couldn't remember when.
Yeah, he said it in a like a Whack an Atheist or something before he and I debated. He was like, "Oh, there's this guy we're gonna have a debate soon on whether birds or dinosaurs. There's just some kinds of stupid you just can't fix." And I was
Didn't you
like,
say like, oh, the debate's on like that all birds are dinosaurs and all dinosaurs are birds and all that, and like he just was
"Oh yeah,
not
it was."
understanding the basic logic of what it means.
In our debate, he couldn't get straight whether my argument was that birds are dinosaurs or dinosaurs are birds. Yeah, I had to correct him on that in the debate that he had
Maybe
agreed
that's
to
what
do.
I'm thinking of is it was in the debate where he had said that. And it was
No,
like,
I quoted him in the debate. That's why you remember it. It's because I
Sorry.
reported those words. Yeah.
Mhm. And you corrected him right away.
Yeah. And 4-5 from Jonathan H. Kent has now exhausted my wine. I had to drink Dr. Pepper for the rest of the show. Dude, I did this show with wine once. Never again. I had like the worst hangover the next day. It was, and
Oh my god!
like, because it was just wine, and wine is stronger than the cocktails that I mix. And like, I was like stumbling afterwards, and then I just had such a bad hang. I was like, never again. I'm never doing Kent with Ben on wine again. So.
You know what? I just realized I'm like, excuse me, like maybe less than 2 weeks away from 10 years of being alcohol free.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, take that alcohol.
That's awesome.
Kent Hovind can't make me drink alcohol. I'm gonna finish some of this.
Look, if
coffee.
anything could, Kent Hovind would, so congrats.
And I will say this: Dr. Pepper's pretty good.
I like Dr. Pepper.
I also used to like wine when I would drink. But as George Costanza said, there is no way that wine is better than Pepsi. This is a joke from a sitcom from a long time ago.
Okay.
That's what they did too.
Oh, that was a joke that didn't
It's
land.
neat to go
Take
out
a
at
drink.
night and look at part of the sky, let your eyes focus on it, and all of a sudden more stars start appearing, and then get a telescope and put it up there, and it's like, wow! Things that you thought were just a few stars, all of a sudden now that little dot is an entire galaxy of billions of stars.
No, usually it's a little fuzzy spot that's a new galaxy, but whatever. It's close enough.
It's unreal. I've got a video clip I need to add in here about. All right, I'll put it in part 7 probably. Somebody did that. They took a video through a telescope as they were zooming in, and what looked like just a few stars. All of a sudden, these stars became entire clusters of galaxies, and it's blow your mind. It's so beautiful, you know.
Yeah, it's
I
true. I'll
hope
take a
when you
drink.
get to heaven, the Lord allows us to
How does it
travel
help
at the
us-
speed of
it's
thought.
true. How does it help his cause? or his argument.
I think he's just sort of doing the gee whiz, this is cool, but also Kent Hovind likes to think that he's actually educating on science, so every once in a while he goes on to what's technically an irrelevant tangent, but he points out some neat science fact. So I think that's what he's doing. Did I move that? There we go.
All you got to do is think about being somewhere. I'm glad students can't do it now because they'd be in and out of the room all the time, you know?
That's a weird dream Kent
I think
had,
I'm at
but okay.
Hey, come on back. Of course, at the speed of thought, some people would go pretty slow. Come to think of it, but
that joke landed. We can't
a
drink
few of
for
those. Okay, textbooks say that red giant stars slowly evolve into.
No, yeah, it's decent. Speed of
That joke's
thought.
fine. I like that joke.
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, if it's an ad-lib joke, he's done a bunch that have been awful.
That's the only time I've heard him say it, so.
And, yeah, and that one was better, so.
TD Lane says, gee whiz, I see you are taking from RJ at Dabberdown. Yes, I am. Thank you, RJ. RJ Downard has, RJ Downard's a pretty great guy, and I have both of his books, the one he did on his own, as well as the one he did with Jackson Wheat, and, while they're not the kind of books that I, want to sit and pore over from cover to cover, because they are gigantic and dense. But I have read significant portions of them. Mostly what I do is when I have a particular topic, I look for that topic in their book and I read that section, and then I look at their sources and I check those sources. But RJ's two books are Evolution Slam Dunk and The Rocks Were There Part 1. The Rocks Were There Part 1 was a co-authored book with Jackson Wheat. And everyone here should look for those on Amazon. I should probably just get an Amazon affiliate page and link to them or something. I don't know. But go get those books. They're gigantic and dense and amazing. And also, do not look for pictures. They don't have pictures. It's a gigantic pile of text. And it's amazing.
Dwarf star. Now, it seems to be true that red stars do change to white stars after a while. And they've got a whole series set up of how this happens. And if you take an astronomy course, they'll go through all the go down deep, stay down long kind of stuff on how stars burn up a certain amount of heat and they get rid of a certain amount of critical mass and then they collapse on themselves and expand. And they've got all this stuff all theorized. I wouldn't argue with them. Maybe it's all true. I don't know. I don't think they know either.
What do you mean? We've seen novas, Kent. You accept that we've seen novas. What's left behind after a nova is a white dwarf. I'm taking a drink. I don't understand.
He almost credited the field of astronomy for something, and then at the last minute, be nah, they don't really know what they're talking about, though.
I just don't understand. Nothing about this is a thing that Kent doesn't already accept. But he's like, I don't know, maybe. My goodness, Kent. All right, we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
However, they're going to say to go from a red star to a white star takes hundreds of billions of years.
What? No, it takes a few million years. What? I'm just taking another drink. I just can't.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah,
he's
talking
about
I don't even know.
Let's just keep going.
Or billions of years. This textbook says, if you look in the lower left-hand corner, it may take 100 billion years, or 10 billion years, or just a few billion years. The average size star...
Yeah, for the entire lifetime of the star, but if you're starting at a red giant, Kent, it's not going to take the entire lifetime of the star. Look, you have the entire lifetime of the star.
Has already passed.
Yeah,
Kent.
You got the lifetime of a star on screen. Look, you notice that your chart here that you have on screen
doesn't start
red.
Giant. Look
right
to the left of that.
Take another drink. You put it on screen. How stupid can you be? I am so tired of creationists putting up on screen things that contradict them.
Selective reading,
I don't know. I don't understand how he can put that on screen and then think that what he's saying makes sense.
Well, he has no idea what he's talking about.
It is getting ranty. You know what?
He doesn't know that he has no idea what he's talking about, but he's no idea what he's talking about.
Look, I want to apologize to my audience right now, because look, it started out with pseudoscience nonsense, and that got me wound up. And now I recognize that I am becoming more agitated than normal. Let's just say that. So, my apologies. But, oh my goodness. Kent is...
I'm agitated. The chat, I mean, some of them have mentioned they're pretty agitated in different ways. So, like, this is a rough one.
Yeah, this...
Kent's saying a lot of wrong things one after another.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to keep going. We're going to push through. We've got a half an hour more of this video. We're probably not going to finish it. Or we're definitely not going to finish it today. So, next week might be rough too. Although, we might actually release one of the pre-recorded ones. Depends on how the whole, like, setup and stuff is going, because I'm moving at the end of this week, so. TikTok says, Dapper Dino, you guys' rants are great, don't worry. Alright, well, hey, in that case, fair enough, but, like,
fine, but to get that out, it has to get
right, it's rough on us.
In here, and
it's rough.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I do this because I like this. I do nothing to do this, man. I do this with my friend Dapper Dino because
we were doing this before we broadcasted.
Before,
yeah.
Right before we had the channel.
I think it was even Bent's idea.
I'll take credit. I did name it Kent with Bent.
You did.
Yeah, dude. I also named Eric with Erica.
You did.
And I also named my dog.
One of them.
I named both dogs, actually.
Oh, really?
The one, Carmen in San Diego, was for my mom, but I gave that dog that name.
Okay.
Now it's my dog again.
Our son will be in the middle there. They're going to say it takes in 10 billion years.
So you know it's not starting from Red Giant. You know what? I'm just going to let it go.
Years it'll change to a white dwarf. And they've got it all figured out how the sun, when it burns up a certain amount of fuel, it no longer has enough gravity to hold it together. So it'll swell up like a marshmallow does when you get it hot over a fire.
Kinda?
When it swells up,
I guess I'll kinda take a drink.
Then it collapses back on itself, boom, and turns into a little tiny white dwarf star. And then that explosion, all that process is where the nova and supernova comes in.
Hey, you got that right. Take a drink for that.
And they say the sun is going to swell up as big as the Earth's orbit, and we're all going to be fried.
No, Kent, you're going to be long dead by then.
In about 10 billion years.
If there's humanity left.
Well, I mean, it's less than 10 billion years, but sure, why not?
I think it's 5-ish billion, and I think
it's about 5-ish, yeah.
It's all happening at the same time. We're colliding with Andromeda, I think, and like, I don't know. Oh, wait, no, I can't remember the exact numbers. Yeah, Kent will be dead, but like humanity could technically still be alive, I guess, on Earth at that point.
I think by that point, most of humanity would probably be like, you know what, this place sucks, I'm out.
I don't know how humanity's going to survive that long only on this planet without...
Yeah, they would have to get to other planets.
Leaving it, or not necessarily everyone leaving it, but like...
Humans would have to colonize space to survive that.
A lot. It would be... A vast majority of the existence of humanity would have to be in outer space.
Look, that amount of time is enough time to spread around the entire galaxy several times over. So, you know.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
A life insurance policy now, you know. Anyway, I doubt that's going to happen. But the stars do change.
You doubt it's going to happen? We watch stars blow up all the time, Kent. You yourself admit it. Why would you doubt that that's a thing that could happen to the sun? Like, I get you're like, oh, maybe Jesus will come back in like 2028 or whatever it is. But like, assuming that he doesn't, because so far hasn't, what would prevent it? I'm taking...
I do want to say this while you take your drink. What Kent's talking about with like the life cycle of the star, there's another PBS-sponsored Crash Course Astronomy series on YouTube that ended years ago. It's 46 episodes or something like that. And other than like the editing, like it's kind of nonstop talking. So for me, I gotta slow it down a little bit. I don't, but I should. There's a lot of good information there, and it starts... Well, there's a bunch of episodes that you could pick which ones you'd want to see, but it talks about all the different star sizes, star masses, and all of that. How we can detect what we see based on emission spectrum of certain elements on the periodic table. Like, there's a lot of good information in there.
Yeah.
And it is a lot easier to understand than the PBS space-time is. But again, like the guy kind of talks a little too fast for me to just absorb all of it.
Bent, you and I have like opposite preferences on like YouTube video speed.
Speed or faster.
I'm often on ×2 speed.
Yeah.
I'm just like, talk faster, everybody. Because basically,
No.
I want them to be talking at about the speed that I read, and I'm a bit of a fast reader, so.
So do I. Which is why I got to slow it down a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not stupid, but I'm not necessarily the fastest reader.
No, hey,
Although I always
that's
had
fine.
a reading level higher than my grade book. But like, no, when I read, like, oh yeah, it's gonna make me fall asleep. It just makes me tired and sleepy. It's a great way to fix insomnia.
Oh, Maya Atkinson wants to build Dyson Sphere. I'm sorry to tell you, but those are physically impossible. But Dyson Swarms are entirely possible. So hit your wagon to the Dyson Swarm.
And yet, all of the ancient astronomers, if you go back and read the records, yes,
You don't doubt that.
Again, mic your audience, Kent.
it's not going to happen, period. God's heaven and earth, well, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away, so maybe he will let that happen that way.
So is Kent here coming out for like Jesus isn't going to return for billions of years? I mean, okay, sure, why not? It's just surprising since apparently in his thesis he's like, oh, I think Jesus is coming back in like the late 2020s, which coming up on, Kent. Better get ready.
Interesting verse when it says the sun is going to scorch men in the book of Revelation. They'll be scorched with a fervent heat. Some Bible scholars will say, see, that's the beginning of a supernova. The sun is swelling.
The sun isn't going to turn into a supernova. It's too small for that. I'm taking a quick drink here.
I just want to say I saw that we had 35 watching and 35 likes. Good job, everyone.
Well done.
We finally did it.
So Maya Atkinson says, swarms come before spheres in a few billion years, and the willingness to obliterate all the other planets for resources. Who knows our potential? So it's not a lack of resources that makes Dyson spheres impossible. The problem is that a solid sphere actually doesn't impose any gravitational influence on things inside it, nor do things inside it exert any gravitational force on the sphere itself. There's no way to actually couple a hollow sphere to the sun gravitationally. So the sun would crash into any Dyson sphere built around it, inevitably, in a fairly short order. So yeah, that's the real problem with Dyson spheres, is that they can't actually maintain the star they are built around at the center. And the problem is going to happen before you can finish the Dyson sphere. So let's assume that you have infinite materials of sufficient strength to build a Dyson sphere. It will crash into the sun. It is inevitable. And that's bad.
I learned that on PBS Space Time. This is like a big PBS Space Time commercial now.
It pretty much is. Aren't you a patron of theirs?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get a bunch of like Curiosity Box stuff.
Yeah.
Which reminds me,
That's from something else. That's from Vsauce.
oh, okay, but you've got a bunch of Steam games, like game keys.
Oh,
that you
yeah.
haven't. So one of the things we're thinking about doing is doing like a giveaway of a Steam key. So let us know if that's something you guys might be interested in. Put it in the comments, not necessarily in the chat, but put it in the comments if that's the thing you'd be interested in. And we're going to figure out how to do that like in a legally safe way so that we're not getting in trouble.
So I subscribe to the Curiosity Box on Vsauce. Part of their money goes to Alzheimer's research. It's a lot of sciencey gadgets and gizmos and cool things, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to advertise for all these other channels, but like that they send out Steam games and like
And you haven't redeemed most of them.
I haven't redeemed most of them. I have so many Steam games. They're not like the best games ever. Some of them are worth like $15, some maybe $5. But I redeemed a few. I don't know legally like how to.
So
I don't want to try to sell anything, right? But like, yeah, the giveaway. Yeah, I'd like to be able to do that.
Okay. Well, I have some ideas for a giveaway. We couldn't do it. The ideas I have, we probably couldn't do it live, but we could probably like announce who got the giveaway on the next stream and then ask for their email and whatnot. So
Yeah, and I just send you the Steam key ID or whatever it is
Right.
for the key.
So we are thinking about doing some Steam giveaways for some like science-y type games. But we're gonna keep going with some Kent because we're past the 3/4 mark, Bent. We're almost through. We got this.
All right.
But it could be, or it could be the atmospheric conditions are different, you know. Just changing the atmosphere would scorch everybody here. You don't have to make the sun larger.
I mean, I guess it could, but depends on how you change it. Whatever, sure.
Go to Sahara Desert, you want to get scorched, you know. 130 degrees, that'll scorch you right now. This
Dude, I've been 140 degrees. Get wrecked, Kent.
Yeah.
idea about red stars changing to white stars is probably true. But all of the ancient astronomers referred to Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky. If you go out on a cloudless night, other than the planets, which appear even brighter because some of them are, you know, so much closer, the brightest star is the star Sirius. Now, it's not the closest star. It's the brightest
It's just
star.
little nitpicking things, like all the planets are closer, not some. So, like, little nitpicking things of the way he's saying what he's saying. No, Sirius is not the brightest star. The sun is a little bit brighter, Kent. Like,
I mean, yeah. Now, actually, I'm going to take a quick, like, a sip. Because it's not a big deal, but it is actually true that some ancient sources refer to Sirius as red, and it's a bit of a mystery as to why. So,
everybody referred to Sirius as a red star, in you know, the ancient astronomers did. Today, it's a white dwarf star.
no, it's a blue star. So, take a drink. And Turv Boy for $5 says, I think I understand what Kent is doing. He lies to boost his fragile ego, and by tricking people, he develops a I know better than you complex. Yes, but then he projects the I know better than you complex onto mainstream science, which is an additional level of
psychological defense mechanism.
yeah, basically.
I'm sure that's not on PBS Space Time, but you could probably see videos on psychological defense mechanisms on YouTube also.
Again, not doctor, so not medical advice.
Not a doctor. You know, it was like a Psych 100 class I learned about him.
Yeah.
The ones I didn't know, the ones I knew about but didn't realize, oh, this is actually, oh, that's what they mean by a psychological defense mechanism. No, okay.
This information comes from the book It's a Young World After All. It's a Young World by Paul Ackerman, which we have.
It's a young world after all.
I believe, right, Ken? It's out of print, isn't it? But we still have some left. It's back in print? Okay. Yeah, I've talked to Paul Ackerman on the phone several times. He said there's a couple things he'll change about the book next time that he's found out are not quite accurate, but 98% of it is really great. One atheist wrote me a very nasty letter about my mention of Sirius being a white star. And he said, don't you know Sirius is a binary star? There are two of them going around.
That's true.
I wrote back and said, yeah, and they're both white. So
Yeah,
what's your
they're
point?
bluish.
It appears to be a binary star, two stars spinning around each other, and they're both white stars.
No.
Just so you know that in case somebody questions you on that. Yes, it's binary, but they're both white. Okay, let's move in now. Instead of from the stars, though there's lots of evidence from space that the universe is not billions of years old, let's move in just to our solar system. Two different words.
Why would the solar system give evidence as to how old the universe is? Oh, I'm taking a drink. My goodness, I'm running out of drink. This is the first time this has happened in like a few months. Where I don't know if I'm gonna get through this thing on my second drink, and I'm usually super careful about how much I drink, how much I pour, all this stuff. And this one is ruining my record of being able to predict how much I need to drink.
Yeah.
You need to be careful, Eric, not to confuse is the universe and the solar system. Solar system is just our 9 planets and the sun. The universe would be everything. All of the stars and planets, etc. Jupiter is a huge planet, but it's cooling off. Estimates are that it's losing its heat twice as fast as it gets it from the sun. Let's see.
About.
My very extravagant mother just sent us 90 parakeets.
Drink for Godzilla twice.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And if you want to memorize the distance to the planets, which I made my students...
All right, here's the thing, right? If I have to take more than like 2 more drinks, I'm gonna run out. So 1 in the chat if you think I should just grab a new drink real quick. 2 if you think just stop, I guess. And we're gonna keep going, but I'm gonna check the chat for numbers after I get to like my next drink trigger. So, you know.
Let's do an Earth science class. Just to get a few of them, you can do it as an astronomical unit. It's a quick way to do it. Mercury is the closest one. It's 0.39. Venus is 0.7. Earth is 1. The distance from the Earth to the Sun, 93 million miles, is called an astronomical unit, AU.
That's true.
Wow, Kent, good job. Kent's teaching finally.
Look, ones are winning, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour a bit of rum and a bit of soda of my choice real quick into my glass, just so I can keep going for the next, like, 10-ish minutes. Then we're going to wrap up. And, yeah. Bent.
Yeah.
Talk about space for a few minutes.
So I'm just kind of reading on the color controversy of Sirius right now. And I'm not done reading it, so I don't know what the conclusions are. But yeah, there was a controversy, and it seems, this is all just from Wikipedia, it seems like the colors changed over time potentially. Like I'll have to just look at this later. It's like if Dapper's kind of going, yeah, I could probably read on it a bit. But yeah, I will comment on this fridge that people have noticed. Here's how you get a desk side fridge for Kent with Bent. Have a really awesome friend that gives you a fridge for nothing, just randomly, because that's how I got it. Okay, it's like, I don't know, it's not the best fridge ever. It's like a 3/4 size or whatever. But like, dude, I didn't even ask. He's like, I got a fridge, an extra. I'm gonna give it to you. And I was like, okay, how do I say no to that, right? But, you know, like, that's the guy from Copper Magma, that bass player.
And I'm back.
So, like, you got to be in bands with people. That's how you get free refrigerators. All right, welcome back.
By the way, this is the first time in months I've grabbed a 3rd drink for Kent with Bent.
Yeah.
Like, I usually have, like, a highball glass, right? And I put some liquor and some soda and some ice in that. And then by the time we get to an hour, I usually have it spaced out reasonably. So I'm finished. And then I get a second one. And then by the end of that, we're good. But nope. This one, I'm at a 3rd glass. But here we go.
We'll get into that more of that later. Mars, I believe, is 1.5. Jupiter, which we're talking about here, if I recall, is 5 astronomical units.
I'm pretty sure
that means
those numbers are wrong.
it's 5 times farther away from the sun than we are.
But yes, Kent, that is what that would mean if an astronomical unit is equal to the mean orbital radius of the Earth. And if Jupiter were at 5, that is what it would mean. So, okay. Now, let's see if he gets the square root law right.
If you're on Jupiter, the sun would look real small and would supply you with very little heat. Even Mars at 1.5 astronomical units is real chilly.
But can you double check? Because I'm pretty sure Mars is closer to 2 than 1.5. Okay, I'm going to take a drink to say that yes, Mars is real chilly and Jupiter gets very little heat from the sun.
144.3 million miles. So that's about 1.5 AU. Yeah, that's 1.5
Oh, okay.
AU.
All right, fair enough. You know what? I'll take a drink for Kent because
Kent's teaching for once, and while I was reading on the Sirius color controversy,
hey, you know what?
Something wrong. I didn't quite catch it, but
look,
yeah.
You should never come to me for orbital distances of the planet because if you ask, I'm literally just going to be like, let me Google it. Oh, and Don Giovanni says Jupiter is 4.9 to 5.2. So you know what? That's about right too. So I'll drink for that too, Kent. So you know what? Congrats, Kent. You're getting these right. And I was sort of like, I think those are wrong, but I was wrong.
Well, and remember, like, the 4.9 to 5.2 is like, it's not a circular orbit. It's elliptical, right?
Yeah.
So
you average it out, it's
like
like probably
closer and farther, so you can average it or give it a range. Or
if you average it out, 5 is a reasonable, like, single-digit estimate. So you know what?
And 1 is it's just a made-up unit that we that scientists on Earth or whoever on Earth came up with. Like, this is how far we are from the sun, and we're just going to call it 1.
Yeah.
Right? That's going to be the average distance, I assume, not the...
Yeah, it is. It's the mean orbital radius.
So, okay.
Well, to be fair, like, all measurement units are fundamentally arbitrary. Like, you could measure something in any...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so, like, a meter, it's arbitrary. If I made something that was 1.3762 meters long and called it the Dapper length, like, that's not wrong. You can measure any length in those. Yeah. So, all right, but we'll keep going. And congrats, Kent. You're getting this about right. And I was wrong that you were inaccurate. So, apologies.
50% farther away than we are. These 4 planets are called the inner planets. And if you put it on a scale...
Wait, what? No, those 4 planets are not called the inner planets. The inner planets are Venus and Mercury. I mean, maybe Mars. So, well, okay, fine. You know what? Maybe I'm thinking inferior planets because I'm a little bit inebriated.
Well, it's Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. But to be fair...
Well, then he put Jupiter in there. Oh, but Jupiter is 5.
But is there Jupiter there?
Okay, that was the mix-up that I had.
So...
Yeah, okay, that's why I was a bit mixed up. Okay, fair enough, Kent. You know what? We'll take a drink because you were right and I got mixed up, so here you go. My ability to successfully parse Kent Hovind's speech is going down.
How is Kent getting stuff right at the end of this? Like,
because
this is the weirdest 50th Kent with Bent L ever.
Yeah.
Or you can do it with a ruler, you know.
What?
0.3, 0.7, 1, 1.5, 5. The next one, I believe, is 9. It goes clear out to 39, which is Pluto.
It doesn't matter to me. Who cares? I don't care.
39 astronomical units away.
Like they're accurate so far. So.
Which is why Pluto wasn't discovered until just recently. You got to have a really good telescope. And even then, they only noticed there might be another one because one of the inner planets was moving a little bit. In its orbit, it kind of bumped out of orbit. They said, oh, something must be pulling it. And that's how they detected Pluto.
Isn't that how they detected Neptune? They used.
Yeah, it was Neptune, not Pluto. So I'm gonna take a quick drink because it was Neptune, not Pluto.
It's he's messing the story up a little bit, but at least he's heard a correct story and he's mostly getting it right.
Yeah, Investor Phrase says 4 planets are called terrestrial planets. That is accurate. Terrestrial basically means they have a rocky core that isn't shrouded in just absurd amounts of atmosphere.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite in the exact same spot where it's supposed to be based upon normal orbit. Who cares? Okay, you can get into that in Earth science class.
Astronomers care, Kent. That's why they bothered to figure it out.
But I said, who cares about the numbers being...
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
In a different way.
Okay.
That's good, Kent. That's mostly good.
Jupiter's way out there, 5 times farther away than we are, and gets very little heat from the sun, and yet Jupiter is still hot.
Yeah?
Now, how can you keep losing heat for billions of years?
If you start with a lot of heat.
Wouldn't you pretty soon be cooled off?
No.
Depends on how fast you're losing the heat.
And how much you started with.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that are involved, Kent. It's like I'd put an ice cube or water in the freezer in an ice cube tray. Is it going to immediately be frozen?
Well, here's another thing, right? Like, let's say you get like a refrigerator, right? And you cool it down to 0.05 degrees Celsius. So it's just barely above the freezing temperature. And you put an ice cube in a glass there.
Okay.
That could last for quite a while as an ice cube with some water, right? Some liquid water. Mm-hmm. But let's say in another example, I have an ice cube and I put it in a glass and it's in 120 Fahrenheit, which is, what is that like? It's close to 50 degrees Celsius. That's going to melt a whole lot faster, right? That's the thing. How fast this thing can keep going before it reaches equilibrium depends on a number of things, like how big the temperature difference is, how hot or cold you are when you started, and things like that, right? And here's the other thing. Let's say I have an ice cube that I've cooled down with liquid nitrogen, so it's super cold. I could put it in 120 degrees, and it's going to take a while just to heat up to the point where it starts melting.
So it might not, if it's cold enough and big enough, depends on how much water you're using at 120 degrees, you could potentially freeze that water with this.
Right.
Like,
that's the thing. Now, the inverse is also true. If I start with a super hot object and I'm losing heat, it will take me a really long time to reach equilibrium. So it depends on various factors like your starting condition and your current and historical rate of loss. And there's this thing called radioactivity that Jupiter has a lot of, which increases heat, right? Radioactivity increases heat of Jupiter. So as radioactive isotopes decay in Jupiter's core, they increase the heat of Jupiter, which allows it to stay hotter for longer than if it were just hot because of initial starting temperature.
We cover in here evidence from space on page 11. If you want to read more references about this, you can document it. For instance, item number 9, Saturn's rings are unstable, they're breaking up.
True.
Jupiter and Saturn are cooling off rapidly.
You know what? I'll just take a quick drink. Those things are true. They don't prove a young Earth because, well, in the case of cooling off, if you just start hot, then it doesn't matter. And the fact is that, like, I did run the math in a video I did a while back. I don't even remember what it's called. But yeah, if you run the math, or actually, did I actually make a video about it? Or maybe I was planning to. It doesn't matter. But yeah, if you run the math back, like, okay, yeah. Like, in the past, during the formation of the solar system, Jupiter would have to be like a few hundred Kelvin hotter. Okay. Sure. What? So? And
it's not that difficult for it to have been a few hundred Kelvin hotter.
And we have good and we have good ideas about why Saturn's rings formed in the, geologically speaking, relatively recent past. So they're a transient phenomenon, which means that that doesn't prove anything about the age of the solar system, because new things can form on old systems. Basically saying, oh, the rings of Saturn couldn't be more than a few, tens of millions of years old. Doesn't mean anything. It's exactly like saying, oh, hey, this pimple I have on my nose can't be more than a few weeks old, therefore that's how old I am. No, that's not how that works. But we're going to start wrapping up, everybody. Thank you for coming by. Kent, we're going to stop with Kent, but Bent, got anything you want to plug?
Coppermagma.com.
Yes, where you can get free music.
Free music. More to come soon, hopefully. We'll see.
All right. I will be, I believe, releasing the second episode of the second and final episode of the two-part raw Matt, or uncooked Matthew, as I like to call him, gets everything wrong about therapsids. Because, oh my goodness, does he? The second one should be coming out Thursday. Tuesday, I don't have anything lined up for Saturday. I will be in the middle of doing things like unpacking or maybe even still moving stuff. Hopefully not, but I mean, you never know. So Saturday, there probably won't be anything from this channel. But then the next Tuesday, hopefully will be another live Kent with Bent. If for some reason it's not, because of unpacking and whatnot, it might be a pre-recorded Kent with Bent, because we already have 2 of those in the can. Let's see. Then the next Thursday, I might just premiere my debate with Otangelo. And that's as far ahead as I can see right now. I have been working most of today on a new scripted video about Jungle Jargon, who some of you may or may not know about. He's a fairly small channel, but he made a response video directly to me. So I figured, you know what, if you're going to make a response video directly to me, I might as well give you the courtesy of doing a direct response video to you. And I'm planning for this to be a single video. It's going to be fairly long. So yeah. And TD Lane says, good luck with the move. Thank you, TD Lane. I am hoping that I don't permanently destroy any of my most valuable possessions, like my computer. That'd be a nightmare. If I destroy my computer, I might need a GoFundMe, honestly, because I don't know what else I would do. But I want to say thank you especially to all of my channel members and patrons, as well as to everyone who super chatted, which includes Buddy from the Outside Chat, TD Lane, Turfboy, and Jonathan H. Thank you, guys. Seriously, every super chat, every subscription, or joining, I guess. Yeah, subscriptions too. Every subscription, everyone who joins, everyone who pledges on Patreon, it all really helps out. Also, I am 2 creatures away from making the first Phase 3 Speculative Evolution Project video. So that should be... Oh, Drink for Godzilla! So that's probably pretty soon. Hopefully the next couple weeks or so. And yeah, I hope everyone here has a great night. I hope you all stay safe. And yeah, I'm the Dapper Dinosaur. I want to take a moment during this first month of a brand new year to thank my patrons and my channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bent Hovind, Ian Chen, Sphincter of Doom, and Henry Hutanen. You guys really helped me get through the last year, and it was a rough one, and I cannot thank you enough. Now, if anyone here is listening and isn't supporting but would like to, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description, as well as the option to join the channel underneath this video. If those aren't right for you, there's also a Teespring store, and if none of that works for you, please just like and share this video, because that helps this channel grow, and that really helps out.